It's time to pop the top off with Pub Talk today. We are back with Week 10 of the NFL. We already have our picks down for the upcoming week of Week 11 coming up.
Already got them, baby.
We will have a special whiskey tasting here on the show. And, of course, our hops of the week to finish us off. But before we begin, Pub Talk is brought to you by Route 11 Chips. Football season is still here. Saturdays and Sundays are all about sitting on the couch, watching football and eating. So you're going to need some chips, and Route 11 is at the ready. Since 1992, Route 11 has been chipping away to give its consumers a great and tasty product. So make sure you check out your local Martin's, Food Lion, and Giant to pick up a bag today. Okay, let's get started here. Right off the bat, we have a fantastic matchup that started on Monday night. Fantastic matchup, right?
Should have been.
No, it shouldn't have.
Why not?
Because both these teams, with the exception of a couple of players, are very bad. They are very bad teams.
Yeah, and
I say a couple of players. Minnesota, with the exception of one player, is really fucking bad. They are really bad. If you don't know what happened, Minnesota beat Chicago.
Yes.
Go figure. 19-13. Let me say that score again. 19-13 on an exhilarating Monday night football game.
Come on, man.
I'm not. Nope. I will not give praise where praise is due right now because there is no praise for Chicago. I am
not offensively. I'm with you. I'm speechless.
I am dumbfounded that this team was 5-1 at one point. They were 5-1. They were one of the top teams in the NFL. Undefeated at 4-0, dropped to 4-1, go 5-1, and then the Lambs come to slaughter. It's just been a complete down. What?
Nothing. Just the way you say that.
Then it is a complete 180 right now. And guess what?
They've turned in. Can we call the Bears a dumpster fire at this point?
Oh, no, they suck. I'm not going to call it. No, dumpster fire is still
New York Jets.
I still think they're dumpster fire. Bears they suck. Like, they are really bad offensively. I cannot speak very more highly of how the Bears defense consistently comes in and week out and says, you know what? We'll be the stars of the show and somehow we'll win this game because we want to play football and we know how to play football.
Dalvin Cook carried the ball 30 times last night, didn't gain 100 yards.
I expected that.
That tells you something.
I expected that.
Nick Foles throws 26 passes and can barely break the 100-yard mark.
What?
He was 15-26 for 106 yards. No touchdowns and a pick.
Let me just say this.
That's a good night in high school.
They even said that they were switching up the play calling to the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to his offense.
Yeah.
And what happened? It got worse. It somehow got fucking worse. I get that David Montgomery was out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you only 26 times for almost 100 yards.
Yep. Allen Robinson caught 6 balls last night and couldn't even get 50 yards.
Like what is it?
Yeah.
I really want to know what is it?
I look at the stat line.
I want to get into stat. I don't want
because it's important.
Up.
It's important.
Shut up.
But I'm just telling you that the Bears couldn't manage 150 yards of offense. They couldn't manage 150 yards of offense. You're playing in the NFL. How the fuck are you going to win if you can't generate 100?
Somehow they still were in the game.
41 rushing yards.
They lost by 6 points.
Yes, because Cardell Peterson,
Patterson, for fuck's sake.
I know
how
who
many
it is.
times you mess that name up?
I always say Peterson and Patterson. It's the same name.
But, yeah, that happened. And then also your defense is stopping them. Your defense gets a turnover. Khalil Mack with an interception. I'm tired of the stats. What is it going to fucking take? What is it really going to take? Because you guys technically aren't the worst offense in the NFL. You're 31st. You're technically the 31st because the 32nd is the New York Jets.
Yep.
So, and you have
we're last in rushing.
Oh yeah, that's not even close.
Dead last.
You
in
guys
rushing.
have 7. You guys. I don't know how this stat is true, but you guys average 74 rushing yards a game. How?
Not last night.
You should.
Not last
you
night. We
guys
broke
don't-
the record. Last night we had 41 rushing yards. 40 rushing yards. 40.
I'm gonna look at the other side. Minnesota, you're on your back heel, and this is why I say Minnesota is not a good team, because you look at against a Bears team that is absolutely awful. On
It wasn't
offense.
penalties. It didn't come down to that. It just didn't. That's not.
You know what? You know
non-issue.
what it came down to? It came down to Minnesota got the points when they needed to,
Yeah.
right at the beginning of the game.
Right, and what goes to tell you, and I how I feel about stats a lot of times, but this is indicative of the Bears at this time when you have an offense that only generates 10 first downs.
How is that? I have to ask you.
You that's terrible. I don't have any other way to say
I
it
have-
other than that's just horrendous.
I have to ask you though. Like, this has got to be. You're a longtime Bears fan. This has got to be
More years than you've been alive, buddy.
the worst Bears team I think I've ever seen, because at least in the past you would generate some offense. I
Yeah.
mean, at least you would. I know Bears fans love to rag on Jay Cutler, but at least the man could drive down the field.
Yeah.
At least you would say, hey,
Hey,
at least we have one
He
drive.
can push the ball vertically down the field, and that is something that the Bears can't do right now. And when you watch the games, and because I'm a fan, I watch the games, and yeah, you can say I'm suffering through the games, but it's still, that's what you do as a fan. And sometimes you suffer, and I've been with more losing seasons with the Bears than I have winning seasons, but
I can't talk,
But-
but I've been a Steelers fan, and my entire tenure as a Steelers fan has been with, a coach that has never had a losing season, but never gets credit for being an actual good head coach. So, and Mike Tomlin.
yeah.
No,
The Bears have been through so many coaches in that time.
Like, yeah.
And so I roll with the punches, and I say that there's always next year and stuff like that. But I just can't help but think that this team, with all of the talent that they have on defense, that they can't find similar talent on offense. They just don't have. Now, granted, you got Anthony Miller and you got Robinson.
By the way, costed
Cordarrelle
them
Patterson.
an interception last night. The ball was perfectly thrown to him and just
right
off his
finger.
hands. It's
Right.
like, oh, that's a way to start off the game on our offense after
You know.
the defense stops them.
David Montgomery's not a bad running back. He's a good running back.
He's a bull. He doesn't look that big, but he breaks more tackles than any running back in the NFL. He does.
You paid big money and drafted a nice tight end in Cole Kmet, and you got Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, and then you got Darnell Mooney. He's a really nice young kid coming up in the organization. You've got a veteran tight end and Jimmy Graham, who didn't catch a fucking pass last night. How does Jimmy Graham not get open? Are you telling me he's that washed up over the hill? Are you telling me that that's what it is? And then when you watch the ball being snapped and you watch Nick Foles back there are people in his lap before he can ever get rid of the ball, and he moves like a glacier. It's not like he's a running quarterback of any kind. And then at the end of the game, he gets slammed down and gets carted off the field. So what happens next? Do you go back to Trubisky? Do you go with Tyler Bray? What are you doing? Is that what you're going to do?
Fuck if I know, and I don't care. I like it. It really is that bad.
Tyler Bray was 1 of 5 for 18 yards.
He got an 18-yard pass completion.
Yeah, that was it. That was the sum total of our. We passed.
He's
for
1/10 of Nick Foles' total yardage for the entirety of the game.
We passed for 124 yards last night with no touchdowns and a pick. So there you go.
I'm done talking. I'm done about that. All right, let's go to a better game, the Sunday night game.
Uh-oh. Bump, 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 bump.
Look,
bump.
I get it. You might be the scariest running team in the NFL.
Not that night. They weren't.
But I'm telling you right now, I'm glad that Bill Belichick looked at the film from the Pittsburgh game
Well,
and said, I am taking full credit. No. You shut up right now, because they're not taking the film from the Kansas City game. They're not taking film from that because they're going, look, we can't keep scoring on them to hope to God that they'll just give up and just roll over.
Yeah, trying to outscore the Ravens is
Now-
not a method to beat them.
Now, you take the Pittsburgh game, which is the only other game that they have lost, and I am taking full credit for that.
You
game.
can't.
No, I don't give a shit. I have a mic. He watched that game and said Mike Tomlin is a genius.
Yes, he did.
Because
well, you know
he is
what?
the only-
I would be willing to bet that Belichick would give credit where credit is due. I guarantee he would do that.
because he made Lamar Jackson once again look human.
Yeah.
And I'll say it again, the only games that Lamar Jackson has not played good in are against Kansas City and Baltimore. It is and Pittsburgh. They're in even back last season when he didn't start in the last game because they had already made the playoffs at 14-2 at that point. They didn't need to play Lamar Jackson in the last game of the regular season. So you didn't have that. But in the very beginning, when Ben Roethlisberger went down, a couple weeks after he went out, you had Mason Rudolph in.
Yeah.
That game went to overtime.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this, Mason Rudolph sucked ass that season. And like I said, they went to overtime. Lamar Jackson threw 3 interceptions in that game. They gave him hell. And then you go back to this previous week. Lamar Jackson fumbled the ball 3 times. He threw 2 interceptions. He got sacked 5 times. He was a mess. But everyone can talk about, well, guess how many rushing yards they got on Pittsburgh. Well, guess what? You know what fucking matters? The final score.
Yeah, you're right.
And guess what happened against New England? They smothered him. They got after him. Make him throw. Make it force him down the field. Because guess who you got? You got Gilmore. You got Jackson. You got 2 cornerbacks that are basically on the field that's saying, look, we can handle these guys. These guys are nothing to us. And at the beginning of the game, it looked like Lamar was going to have a pretty easy day. And then Cam came alive on the offensive side of the ball.
He did what he was supposed to do. He was efficient. He passed the ball. And with the exception, if you remember, with the exception of the big run by Lamar, it's still a hold them in check kind of game. And when I look at the rushing yardage from the game, they rushed for 173 yards, and that's well below probably what they've been jacking up. I'm sorry, 115 rushing yards.
Are we about to see a Patriots team play down to their opponent and play up to their opponent? Because they've lost to some Bobo teams. They've almost lost to some Bobo teams.
I'm not entirely going. But at the same token, and I don't want to take anything away from your Steelers defense and Belichick copying the Steelers defense. But at the same time, if anybody knows what the Ravens are going to do, it's Belichick and the Patriots. They know what they're going to do. And if you watch this game, they freaking out the Ravens. They gave the Ravens what the Ravens did.
Yeah.
Or do. And so we've said this how many times that you shut down their run game and you make Lamar Jackson beat you with his arm.
And also that Pittsburgh game, the amount of rushing yards. Look, I'll give you this. Our nose guard went down with an injury right at the beginning of the game, so you have to put in a backup nose guard going against them. And also, we lost Devin Bush the week before, so we're still getting a starting middle linebacker accustomed to the game plan. And guess what? He had a pick 6 that game. He made a lot of great plays, but you still have to get accustomed to it.
Cam Newton was efficient. Their run game was efficient.
That's to be expected from the Patriots, that their run game is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Harris rushes 22 times for 121 yards.
They have another trio of running
backs. Yeah.
Somebody,
I think it was a Pardon My Take. The guys on Pardon My Take who were pretty good show, almost close to ours. But anyway, they were remarking about how soon will Damian Harris end up like Jonas Gray and the other great running backs that have come out of the Patriots who have a great game and then disappear into the shadows because they can't show up to meetings on time. And Belichick.
Damian Harris is from Alabama.
He
comes from the same type of coaching tree that you would get from a
Belichick and freaking Saban are one and the same. They coach together, and so. Yeah. Damian Harris, 5.5 yards. The one thing I noticed is that when they were handing the ball off, there was okay, a little toss sideways, maybe a little power off tackle, but they were working downhill. And that in the kind of weather that they were playing, and that's what you have to do. And Damian Harris was just literally
You see that, Buffalo?
He was attacking the line of scrimmage. We talk about it at our level. We talk about puncturing the defense. It doesn't make sense to run sideways or try and run toss sweep against teams like this because they'll just run
that,
you down.
Chicago?
You can't do that. And because they'll just run you down. Okay, we'll set it up. We'll run toss sweep to avail to power off tackle. But Damian Harris's attack speed at the line of scrimmage was nothing short of spectacular. And Rex Burkhead also, he's good carrying the ball, and he's good out of the backfield in a passing situation and stuff like that. So, Cam Newton was 13 of 17. He throws for 118 yards and a touchdown. Nothing fancy about that. No turnovers, consistency in the passing game. You don't have to have a lot of yards. You just have to put points on the board. And that's what they did. And you can't ask for a better situation. For a Patriots team that was heading nowhere, who were just spiraling
down, and they
were 2-5. They were
they
were just, and I don't see that anymore.
It is unbelievable.
Could it be that they're just trying to find a way in, and they finally found a little bit of a groove? That
maybe, but also I think that winning against the Jets, were like, we can still win, guys. We can still do this.
Yeah, but they're gonna have their work cut out for them, coming up. So. What do they have next week? They got the Texans. Yeah, that's a winnable game. The week after that,
oh my God, that Texans game is going to be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right now, the Houston run defense.
Yeah, it's not good.
And guess what? What is New England good at this year? It's not passing the ball.
Right now,
it is running the damn ball.
Now. Yeah, and then they're going to run into some stiff competition because then they're going to stare down the barrel of the freaking Cardinals, who are playing. With a lot of spirit. They're trying to finish games, and right now the Cardinals are more than I thought they would be at this time. And that's not a negative. I'm trying to sing their praises. But they've got some tough games coming down.
They're going
to
play Miami. They're going to play the Rams.
They're going to play, and they suck in Miami. They suck when they go to Miami. They're terrible. They got the Rams, again. And they're going to play the Buffalo, and then they'll round out their season. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots or the Pats. I was going to say the Pats. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pats were 8-8 at the end of the season.
And honestly, I think that would be good with the way that their season started off. Not good in their eyes. Okay.
No, absolutely not. Not a typical season in New England. Absolutely.
Let's move on to the Sunday games. Really quick one right off the bat. Texans Browns. Nick Chubb is hated amongst every single
fantasy football
guy and better out there in the world, because the score line was -3.5.
He did what he was supposed to do.
And guess what?
Fuck all those bettors.
They won by 3, and he stepped out of bounds on like a 60-yard
He did what he was supposed to do.
It doesn't fucking matter, coach. You were supposed to help out the bettors of the world and score that touchdown and rub it in the face of Texans.
Yeah, man.
I honestly don't care. It's good to see Nick Chubb back in action. It's good to see. But the Texans, oh my God, these two 10-7. That is what you could come up with in this game. This Browns team is so fucking overrated. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I wonder about them.
Who are these guys beating? It's clearly the Texans. It's clearly, and guess who they have lost to? They've lost to Baltimore, they've lost to Pittsburgh, and they've lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. 3 actual good fucking teams that are actually good in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Just don't forget that. Just do not forget who Cleveland has lost to. Quality opponents. And who have they beaten? Not quality opponents. Next one. You just had to come back from a broken leg, huh, Alex Smith? You just had to fucking, and then you're a snake. You knew that Haskins would lose the starting job, and you knew that Kyle Allen would dislocate his ankle just so you could get the comeback player of the year. I'm so fucking pissed. I'm so fucking pissed. And then he does this game. They still lost, don't get me wrong, but he set career highs in completions, passing attempts, and fucking yardage in his career.
Hey.
I just want Ben to win comeback player of the year, you son of a bitch. Why did you have to come back? Because Ben should be winning this fucking thing because the Steelers are undefeated. He comes back from Tommy John surgery, and he is unbelievable to see him back at this old of an age, and he's back to his former self. But no, you just had to break your leg and have 17 surgeries. Yeah, you just had to have that happen to you and had to come back, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, you want something. Now, if Ben hadn't suffered the injury that he had, there'd be no question who it is. But you're right. I can see your disappointment.
I get that he broke his leg and he could have died. I get that. But I get that. But he was the third string quarterback. He was literally the practice squad guy. Not the practice, but he's like the guy who runs the practices. He's literally the third string. And Ben is like, he comes back. He has Tommy John surgery. This defense is so fucking good. And what do they need? They just need Ben back to carry them to the promised land. And we're 9-0. And Alex Smith is like, oh, Haskins is out. Kyle Allen's out. Comeback player of the year, right? Fuck off. I'm pissed. I really am.
I don't know why. Why can't you be happy for Alex Smith?
Because Ben is better.
Okay, yes, he is.
Because Ben is better, but it's just like I'm not saying this is under the same realm, but it's just like the Eric Berry story. He beats cancer, he comes back, he plays incredible, and he gets comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
It's just like Ryan Tannehill last year.
Yeah. He didn't have an injury. He didn't have an injury.
Right. Ben Roethlisberger sat out 14 fucking games, an entire offseason.
Alex Smith was out for 2 years, and the injury comparison is not even close.
And guess who's playing better? Because my team won yesterday. He started a game, and he lost to Detroit.
You're lucky the fans can't see your face, you bastard.
I'm not going to –
Hey.
My heart is in a good place,
yeah,
but I'm not going to change my opinion.
Okay, here's
how Ben should win this award when they're 9-0 right now.
Here's what's going to happen. Ben Roethlisberger is going to win the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, but Alex Smith's going to win the ESPY.
That's fine. That is completely fine to me. I don't give a fuck about that leftist ESPY bullshit.
Stop with the politics, dude.
That comes on every single year because it hasn't been good since Peyton Manning hasn't done his monologue since back when he made fun of Kevin Durant. But this is about, I get that it's about more than football. Yeah. I get that. But Ben has literally been the defining factor of if he was not on that team, and this is what comeback player of the year should mean. If he was taken away from that team, what happens? We go back to what fucking happened last year with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph going flip-flopping between who's going to start this week and who's going to throw for 100 yards passing and still lose the fucking game.
Who's going to have a Nick Foles night?
Whereas this year, we faced actual good competition, albeit some teams aren't that good.
Okay.
But
you've won and you've done what you're supposed to do.
And we've won 9 games in a row, and you're telling me that Alex Smith is like, I'm here to fuck your day up, Ben.
Come on. I see your face. Stop it.
It drives me nuts.
Alex Smith had a pretty good night. Does he throw for a touchdown? No. Does he throw for an interception? No. He doesn't turn the ball over. He throws for 390 yards and leads his team back and puts them in position. They had a decent rushing game.
It was good. They
accumulated almost 470 yards of offense.
It was good to see Alex Smith get pissed at himself again. Like he was back on that field being the general in charge again.
Yeah.
And
trying to
win a game and be a
exactly being in a position to find a way to win.
And that's why I'm starting with this now and saying like, look, just ignore what I just said, but don't ignore it because it's fucking right. That it's good to see Alex Smith back out there and still see that no matter, even though he's lost a leg, he doesn't give a fuck that he almost lost a leg. He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to win now. Now that he's back on the field, he's trying to do everything he possibly can.
How cool is that, though? I think that's pretty cool.
And I get that.
Yeah. So Yeah. I mean, I know you want Ben to win it, but at this point,
fine. And if Alex Smith wins the comeback player of the year and Ben wins a Super Bowl, I still fucking win. So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter there because Washington, they ain't going anywhere because they're in the worst division in football history as of right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about the Lions because I don't care because they're not. They still irritate me with the way that they win these games somehow. All right, next one. I'm very shocked by this because it was Green Bay, Jacksonville. On paper, you look at this game, two completely different polar opposites. Green Bay wins by 4 points. And Jacksonville was in the game. They were winning. They were actually winning this game at one point. And then, of course, at the end of it, it didn't happen. Jake Luton throws an interception. It was a turnover on downs. It ended the right way, it seemed like. But I go, dude, this Jacksonville team, they don't care. They're going to play. They are going to play. It doesn't matter. And that's why I won't say I'm scared like I was against Cincinnati, but Pittsburgh's going to be like, dude, don't take this the easy way because they actually have a good running back in Jacksonville. Yep. Robinson is, dude, he's a little guy.
Yeah, he's not very big.
But he is
little over
fearless, and he is a good fucking running back right now. And Jake Luton, he's got nothing to lose. He's like, dude, I shouldn't even be starting right now, but I'm still going
he's barely over 50% on passing day, and he doesn't throw for 200 yards, but he's got a touchdown.
And you know what's funny is that Doug Marrone's like, you know what? I kind of like this kid. Even though we're not winning, I got to try something new. You hear that, Dallas? It's not always the fucking quarterback's fault that gets thrown into the fucking woodwork, right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you're still gonna start getting fuck out of here. But for Green Bay, I'll say this: they were really bad. They struggled a lot. They tried to push the ball down the field. A lot of turmoil with Rodgers. That's to be expected.
Yeah, I don't get him.
Visibly
sometimes.
Frustrated on the field. It's like
get him sometimes. It's just like we you've heard me say it 1,000 times on the show. You never let your opponent see that kind of shit. You just don't. You don't give you freaking the opponent fuel. That's the worst thing you can do. And then, you get paid $100 million to play this game. And it doesn't matter what level it is. You never let your opponent freaking see you sweat. And then you show level of disappointment and show you that you think you're above the fray. Well, guess what? There are 10 other guys on offense. So Aaron Rodgers can take a big fat fucking lick because it's not about him. Is he good? Yes. But those 5 jokers in front of him, or the 6 if you keep your tight end in, or your back if you send your tight end, you keep your back in for pressure.
Get to the point.
My whole thing is that there are freaking 10 other guys on that team that make that team go. It's not all Aaron Rodgers. And if anybody thinks that it's just him, you're a fucking fool. You don't know this game. And you've never understood this game. So he's only as good as the guys in front of him. Period. That's just how it is. And if he has a bad day or one of them has a bad day and he shows his frustration because he can't be freaking Mr. All-Pro and freaking Jake from State Farm fucking commercial, fuck you. That's just bullshit. And he should know that.
Next one, Giants, Eagles. I got to say it right now. I think that the Giants are actually a good football
team. What did I tell you? What did I tell you 2 weeks ago?
I think that the Giants actually have a bit of a spark here.
They got a little swagger to them, don't they? They got a little judge hanging.
That one sucked. Anyway, I actually think that they're not a great football team, albeit, but I actually think that they are a good football team. Defensively, they're actually very solid up front. They have a very good pass defense, very good against the run, actually.
Not bad.
Offensively, if they just get Daniel Jones into an actual, better rhythm, they're actually a good football team. It's not centered around
Saquon and freaking Alfred Morris. They're good enough to hold down the camp until you get Saquon back.
And I think that, if you just keep incorporating Daniel Jones into this run game, that you guys actually have a bit of an actual good football team, albeit. On the other side of the spectrum, Philadelphia, to me, is a dumpster fire. I think that with everything that they had coming into this game, they should win it. They really should. You get Alshon Jeffrey back. You get Miles Sanders back. You get a lot of big players back in your starting lineup. You lay an egg, and that looks bad. Because I blame that on Carson Wentz. Once again, Carson, There were a lot of overthrown balls, high balls in the game
balls
that
just
he
kind of
looked
sailed. Yeah,
awful. He missed a lot of reads down the field. He just did not look good. And then there were balls that, like, dude, that is a fucking starting quarterback right there. Those are great throws.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that right now. I don't see that spark. I see it in Miles Sanders. I see it in their run game. They're a good team, but it comes down to, can Wentz make those big time throws, and can he be in there under pressure right now? Because he has the targets. He really does have those targets. He's got Jalen Reagor. He still has Goddard. Richard Rodgers is back in the picture again. He was a big time target for Aaron Rodgers back a couple years ago. They have the targets. It all comes down to, can Carson Wentz actually make the fucking play happen? Can he do it?
Taking away the young kid, Fulgham. He only has one catch. I mean, he only one catch on freaking Sunday.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's Wentz. I think that he is putting a lot of bad balls. He's really playing poorly right now. And sure, some quarterbacks.
Patrick and I were talking about that. Every time that Philadelphia would get into that trips look, you got one of two things out of the New York Giants secondary. You had some sort of man coverage on short downs, and then every time that you didn't have, you had a normal down and distance, and they got into their trip set. They got a very predictable defense in which the freaking strong safety played the flat, the corner bailed off, and you had a freaking safety in the middle of the field. And I can't tell you how many times the number 2 receiver spotted up at the first down line, and they only threw it like one time. And it's just like, what the fuck are you looking at, dude? How hard is this? You read that strong safety. As soon as he bails, you throw the spot route and take your downs from there. Maybe your guy freaking gets a couple of extra yards after contact, and that's a great play.
And with Miles Sanders, they have that run game available back. They were able to actually run the ball very effectively. But as I said, their problems also came on the defensive side of the ball. They're weak at linebacker. Their linebackers they're not run stoppers. They're side to side, but they are not those.
Yeah, there's something to be said to be pluggers. Yeah, you need a plugger. You need at least a good Mike linebacker. Your will backer in the NFL is one of those guys who's that.
I look at Pittsburgh.
That drop off.
Always look at Vince Williams. He is a plugger. He is somebody who will easily stuff the run hole and stop it. Yeah. I don't see that with Singleton. I don't see that with Duke. I don't see that with anybody. I see it with Rodney McLeod, their safety, but I don't see it in their run game. Their front four, still fantastic. They can get after the quarterback, but they cannot keep relying on that front four to always get pressure. They just cannot. You just cannot. I get it. It's a huge thing to have that front four pressure, but if you don't have linebackers who are able to cover and also a good scheme, you're not going to be good. You just aren't.
I don't disagree at all, man.
But somehow they're still in first place at 3-5.
I really like the Graham kid, though. Brandon Graham's a good freaking linebacker. I like that guy.
Well, he got moved. I remember back when Brandon Graham was with the Chip Kelly team, and they ran a 3-4 defense back then. So he was an outside rush end. He was playing off the line. And I remember that he wasn't the best. Like he was very
well, but it's a very unique position in the 3-4.
Then when Jim Schwartz and Doug Peterson came into the picture,
Schwartz be with him.
They moved him to that 4-3 outside defensive end position. And ever since then, he has been just a force.
And he's an impact player. He's a captain on defense, and yet he's not a Pro Bowl player, but he plays like a Pro Bowl guy.
Yeah. And you go back to that Super Bowl year, where
he made the play against Brady. He caused that freaking fumble and it changed the outcome of the game.
And they signed him again. He'll be there a couple more years. I go, dude, this defensive line, it really has. They got Fletcher Cox, they got Malik Jackson, they got Derek Barnett. They have so many good players, but you have got to find some linebackers.
Both Derek Barnett and Fletcher Cox both had freaking sacks. You got 2 sacks right there, so you're getting pressure.
Yeah. But this is the worst division in football. I don't care what you say. Yeah. Even though that the Giants, like I said, actually look like a good football team.
Do they not have little flashes in there like, holy shit, they get it done? And one of the things I heard the announcer saying as we flipped through all the red zone stuff, and they were talking about the players really, really respecting what Joe Judge wants to do with the team, and that is huge. He's a fiery, he's a fiery freaking, cursing.
You want that?
You want that guy who's going to battle for you, kind of.
I
thing.
get it that you want a mastermind, you want somebody who's smart, but dude, Pat Shurmur, he's not a fiery guy.
No,
Doug Dimmadome, or what was the coach's name? Who was the mustache guy before Pat Shurmur there in New York? I forget what his name was.
Oh shit! He came from Tennessee. He was a coordinator in Tennessee, I think. Let's take a look. Real quick.
I called him Doug Dimmadome from freaking Fairly Odd Parents because I forget his fucking name.
What the hell?
I forget his name. I know that.
Yeah, it's gonna be freaking shit. Oh, it's Bob McAdoo. Ben McAdoo. Bob McAdoo.
For fuck's
plays.
sake, say it right. Okay.
Yeah.
Ben McAdoo.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't fiery guys.
No.
I look at Mike Tomlin. I look at Bill Belichick. They get fired up. They get on their team's ass and they say, look, guys, we just got to make a fucking play. Go out there, stop being this sissy ass team and go make some play. Like, that's what you want from a fucking coach.
And you know what? And Joe Judge.
And I don't see that in Matt Nagy. Yeah. I don't fucking see that in him. I see a guy.
We were done with the Bears.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, next game.
No, what I was going to say is, Joe Judge he's only 38 years old, and he's been in the league coaching players in the league for 15 years. So he's been there since he was 23 years old?
Out of college, basically.
Yeah. And he's been under the tutelage of a special coach, So he's gotten to learn the game from a master, and he brings that fire and brimstone with him, and guys like that shit. They really do. They respect it and play for that.
Okay.
How is it that freaking Brady's 10 years old? 10 years older than me?
He's not 10 years
I'm just
older.
saying.
He's only 5. He's like 5.
He's 5 years older than Brady's what, 43?
43, yeah.
He's 43. Joe Judge is 30. He's 5 years older than him.
Speaking of Brady, Buccaneers, Panthers.
Uh-oh.
You get off, look, I'm not going to read too much into this game. I'm really not, because this game means nothing to the Buccaneers, I feel like, because congratulations, you beat a Carolina Panthers team, but it doesn't prove to me jack diddly squat that you are going to be able to beat these better opponents. It really doesn't prove to me anything, because that Saints game was awful. That Saints game that they played on primetime football was awful. It really was.
That was really bad. It was in watching that game, I just turned it off. It was just ridiculous. It was it was like a folly, you know what I mean? It was like the Saints, like they were playing a freaking JV team.
Yeah, I know.
They just freaking dominated them in every aspect of the game. And so, in many ways, looking at how the Bucs played this past week, they played like that, like last week didn't happen. But here's the thing. If you watch the beginning of that game, it was not like that. It was not like that at all.
It wasn't until that 98-yard touchdown run by Ronald Jones that everything just started to
did that
spiral.
explode? It was what was it? 17-17 at the half.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right there.
That happened and you go, well, no, it was 10-7. And then that happened and you're like, okay. And then everything started to spiral out after that.
So Brady throws for 3 touchdowns, no picks. 28-39 for 341 and 3 touchdowns. And when you look at their rushing game, Ronald Jones 192 yards. That's a huge dent. But one of the things when you look at the box,
no, it was 20-17, and then that happened.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was 20-17.
It was
17-17.
I don't want to read too much into this game, though, Coach, because like I said, it doesn't fucking matter.
I get all that, but what I'm saying is that one of the things that's different about this game versus what didn't happen with the Saints is they didn't seem to match anything that the Saints were doing. You know what I mean? It's like they couldn't get out of their own damn way. And that to me is not the sign of a team with the talent that they have. But when you look at this box score, they consistently scored in every quarter and even through the fourth, and they scored, that's when they were on top of their game. So once they put you down, they freaking knock you out. But that's a hard thing to do. If you can't stay in the game, it's like they give up and they just let shit roll over them. But I'm telling you right now that at 7-3, if you freaking drop one more game or 2 games and you finish the season 11-5, you could be looking at the playoffs from the outside. They cannot afford to lose more games, and they just can't. Okay. Now, the lucky for them, they don't have to play New Orleans again, but it's not going to help them at all. So they just better be careful down the stretch. They better find a way to find some consistency. I think having Antonio Brown. Win out. Yeah, I think Antonio Brown. I think they have the room for maybe one more loss. You better finish 12-4. You better, because the NFC West. Somebody's going to come out there and whip
3
your
teams
ass.
Right now.
They're going to whip your ass if you're not careful. Now Seattle's headed in another direction.
I know, but 3 teams still are in the hunt for that actual division lead.
Right. And then at least somebody comes up and bites you on the ass, and you are not going to get
We'll talk about the NFC West here in a sec. Shout out. All right. So a couple quick games, and then we will get into the actual good shit. All right. Broncos, Raiders. Drew Lock is a problem. He is a real fucking problem right now.
Right now. You think he's pressing too hard?
Yes, I do, because you have all these fucking receivers. It's like, I got to spread the ball around. I got to give the wealth to all these guys. And it's like, no, you have to be able to win the fucking game. And right now, with your offensive weapons, you should be winning at least 10 to 11 games right now with this offense. And this defense clearly has proven that they are good, but they are not winning because Drew Lock has 4 interceptions.
Yeah, you cannot give you – well, STP, brother. STP. There's no other way to look at it.
That's a quick one for me. Derek Carr, he didn't play that much just because he didn't fucking have to.
He doesn't have to. Josh Jacobs
will take it over.
Another solid day rushing the ball. Freaking 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 100 yards.
There's a team that surprises me right now is the Las Vegas Raiders, though. 6-3. They beat Kansas City, and that's going to be a rematch this upcoming week, and it's going to be in LV. It ain't going to be in KC. Okay. Right. Another couple quick ones. Chargers, Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins, if they keep this up right now,
that was one of our picks this week.
You don't put too much pressure on Tua. You allow this team to just basically pound the ball. Then you give Tua some plays. This team is actually very good. This team is actually really good. They're a raspy team, but they are actually very, very good. Mm-hmm. And I'm very scared to see what they can actually do down the stretch. Who did we pick for that one, though?
You were a big winner on that one. Yeah, I think you're pretty damn close. 35-21. You chose the Fins. And I was thinking the Chargers would get off the snide.
They almost did. It was 29-21, but the Dolphins pulled it out.
You know, Justin Herbert, everybody's really liking him. He didn't have a spectacular day. He had the big pick. And but I was thinking they had to get off the snide. So definitely you had a winner right there. The Chargers are a good team trying to find a way to win.
No, they're a good team they're a team with a good quarterback that just can't fucking help him out.
Yeah, they're struggling to find a way to win.
Because Justin Herbert is the offensive rookie of the year. There is bar none in my mind that he is offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I like what he's doing. I mean, and go back to when he was put into the game. Holy shit.
If Kyler Murray can win with only winning 4 fucking games last year, Justin Herbert can win with what he is doing right now. That is 100% the truth.
Well, he's going to win more than 4 games.
I know, but I'm saying
I think they're going to win.
Murray did last year.
I know, winning 4 games, and I think Justin Herbert's going to win more than 4 games. He's 2-7, and they're on the cusp. But they'll find a way to get something done. I don't see why they can't. I like that guy. It goes all the way back when we were talking about him in the draft, and he's a big dude. He can run. He can throw. He's got a gigantic arm. He can make every throw there is in the league, and it's just a matter of time until they find a way to win close games.
All right, one more quick one. Saints 49ers. Look, the 49ers, I think that they actually are a good football team, but they got hit with the injury bug, and they got hit with it hard.
Like a sledgehammer.
you lose George Kittle, you
Yeah.
lose Raheem Mostert, you lose Jimmy Garoppolo, you lose a lot of your offensive firepower, and your defense is left basically being on the field like, dude, I don't know what you want us to do. Like, we're trying our best here, but it just ain't working. And I feel bad for that because I think that they actually have a good system with Shanahan.
What happens with Drew Brees going down?
That's the other kicker. I don't think that they're going to be good enough to continue this with Jameis. You think that Jameis is going to come in and tear it up? Because Drew Brees.
You use Taysom Hill? Do you use him or do you continue? You use him or do you continue? Do you use?
What was the fucking point of bringing Jameis in then? What was the fucking point if you had him as the number 2 quarterback? You going to start Taysom Hill? What happens next week if he just shits the bed completely then?
I don't know. You going to bring in the 30 for 30 guy and lose the game because he throws it to the other team?
Okay.
You think he changed how he is? You think he changed?
Oh, I'm saying they're in a bad situation. I really am.
Yeah, Drew Brees.
Because Drew Brees.
He had a collapsed lung and broken ribs.
I know.
Holy shit.
It's a one.
And he's standing on the sideline.
But I'm saying Drew Brees is a once-in-a-lifetime player. So you're in a bad situation right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm
not liking that situation.
I'm not either.
But I do have to say this. How good is fucking Melvin Kamara? Alvin Kamara. How good is he?
Well, he's been good ever since he's been in the league. He really has. I think the Saints are thankful that they at least.
It's like he glides on air. It's like he's not even playing. He's not playing like anybody else is. And we talked about Dalvin Cook from Minnesota and how the Bears checked him down. Alvin Kamara, I would be willing to argue that Alvin Kamara is just as good or better just simply because of how they use him. And, so he doesn't have great rushing yards. He had 8 rushes for freaking 15 yards, but he is so dynamic out of the backfield and in short yardage situations. And you get him near the goal line in the red zone, and that son of a bitch is freaking lights out. So, at this point, in my mind, offensive player of the year, if you're not going to consider Alvin Kamara as that guy, you bumped your damn head. That dude can play some football.
I wouldn't choose him over Dalvin. Because Dalvin, he has been one. Because I still think if you take Alvin Kamara out, I still think that Drew Brees can find a way to get it done. Because you see what happened with Minnesota. This is just personal.
Oh,
I'm sure that plenty of people.
You're making a great point. I won't argue that point. You're making a great point. I'm just talking to you from a pure coaching perspective. Would I take Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara? Which one would I take? And he's so versatile that I would probably have to flip a coin.
You're right.
If I ended up with Alvin Kamara, I would be like, well, okay.
Okay, you're right.
Good.
But for this year only, it is no question. Just this year, it's
in terms
Dalvin
of his
Cook.
value. Yeah, I think so. I think you might be right.
You saw what happened when he went out.
Yeah.
Seattle. They would have won that fucking game.
Yeah.
They probably would have hammered him. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for the quick ones. A couple big ones, man. Buffalo, Arizona, man. What a fucking game.
Blink your eyes.
I feel bad for Buffalo, but I also go,
don't feel bad for them.
But I go, dude, that is the building where Hail Marys happen. It is. It is the building where Hail Marys happen. Go back to that Arizona Green Bay game a couple years ago. It is the building where you get out with the skin of your teeth by a lucky play. It just is.
And the difference in this game is the third quarter. It's not that final touchdown. As big as that was.
It is, but yeah.
That was a huge play, but at the end of the game, or at the end of the day, just looking what the Buffalo Bills did defensively in the third quarter, they just simply allowed Arizona to race into the lead. And that's a problem,
and that's why I think Buffalo is just not they aren't an elite team is what I thought they were. Because if you don't have that elite
it was
defense,
23-9.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just evaporated.
and then with 30 and like I said, with 34 seconds left, it's 30-26. By all accounts, they need a touchdown in 30 seconds. You 99% of the time are supposed to win that fucking game. But your defense in triple coverage lets D-Hop go up that high.
How good is he?
I cannot believe that the Texans ever let that man go.
They're
and I know
stupid.
Deshaun Watson watched that game after and went.
And he just shook his head.
He punched his TV, man, because he goes, dude, yeah, that's what I had. I had that game. But I look at this game and I go, okay, Arizona, I like it. I like to see that fire from a team like Arizona because their defense is actually very good and their offense is very powerful. It really is. And they can score in a moment's notice. Clearly they can because you're down 23-9 and you're all of a sudden.
He's on a record pace right now. He's got 861 yards receiving right now.
Who? Hop?
Yeah.
All right.
69 catches. And it's only week 9 for them. They're 6-3.
Well, it's week 10.
I know, but they're a week behind. You know what I mean? With their off week. So they're going to go the rest of the way, and if he does with that,
this is without.
Even if let's just take off 20% of the yardage and say he gets 600 yards.
And that's
1,400 yards receiving, and I don't know. What do you figure about 130 catches?
This is after a week where D-Hop caught 3 balls last week, and now. Like Kyler Murray, I will say, I think Kyler Murray's in the MVP race. Kyler Murray is a hell of a
shit
player.
Happen or what? He just makes shit happen. You can't if it's anywhere near the line of scrimmage and you're trying to tackle him, it generally doesn't happen. He will make you miss. I know that's insane.
I know he didn't have the best game statistically, but man, you cannot deny the fact that his progression from last season to this season has been double, maybe even triple of what has happened. I cannot say that enough. It's the same thing with Josh Allen from his first season to last year to this year. He has made steps, and that's why I think that Kyler Murray is making that step as well, and he might even be the MVP because the way Russ has played the past couple of weeks.
Learning how to win is huge, dude. It is. It just
good.
is. It's just learning how to win, man.
Speaking of Russell, though, the professor joined.
Hey.
We're not drinking any beer this week, Professor.
No, we're doing freaking
We have a special bourbon tasting. So,
man.
You'll find out what that is, so just stay in here. Speaking of Russell Wilson, the Rams and Seahawks, that was a game that I had on our picks.
One of the picks we had.
Because
Seahawks.
I thought that the Rams would actually beat them. I was right because the Rams.
We both did. We both picked the Rams.
The Rams scare me in a way that their defense is actually very stout and no one talks about it, and that their offense can, like I said,
they just bring all kinds of pressure and they put you in difficult situations, you know.
And on top of that, I picked this game for the Rams to win because of Seattle's defense. And I was completely right because Jared Goff passed for over 300 yards. Their offense, yet, although it wasn't the best, it got the job done when it mattered, and Russell Wilson played terribly. He played very bad against them, threw 2 interceptions. He didn't have a touchdown. You played poorly against the division rival team.
He gets pressured into making a bad choice. We both picked the Rams. My score was a little bit closer at 35-21. You picked them scoring 42.
The NFC, oh my God.
It's tough. How do you battle in that? When you said 42 points, I scratched my head wondering, how do you score 42?
Dude, the NFC West, I'm telling you right now, is going to get tougher because guess what? They're going to play the Buccaneers next week. The Rams are. Then they're going to play Arizona twice. Yep. They're going to play fucking Seattle once again as well. And then
somebody put.
Yeah, the professor said, "Wow."
Oh. Okay.
Shut your face. Then they're going to play New England again. The only outlier is that the Rams will play the New York Jets here coming up, so that will be not a game that we will be tuning into. But this is going to be as end of the season where you're like, dude, somebody's going to get the first place, somebody's going to get the wild card, and someone might get left out with like an 11-5 fucking record.
After a great season, they're going to get left out, and that's scary to think that somebody with a record like that, knowing what the NFC East looks like, and you're going to sit back and look at that, and you're going to go, we would demolish any one of those teams, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Russell Wilson, no touchdowns, 2 picks, not good for him. Where Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown, didn't throw a pick, was consistent, and they still scored their 23 points. So Malcolm Brown with the 2 touchdowns. Big. You need somebody to score for you. You just do. So,
all right, final game of the night. Steelers-Bengals.
Oh, you had to leave them last, didn't you?
What, they were the last game before the Ravens.
That's why the freaking professor tuned in when he did, because we're freaking picking them, talking to them last.
9-0. 9-0. But right. I will say this. You can even attest to it. Like, I was scared of this game because
we talked about that. Buzzy even mentioned that it could have been a trap game, could have been a huge trap game. I look at this game and I go, look, Joe Burrow
is having a season statistically in the passing game. No, offensive rookie of the year is fucking Justin Herbert. It just is.
Yeah, I think so.
Just is, man. All right. Because nobody win. If you win offensive rookie of the year with a fucking tie, you can suck my dick. That is not going to happen. With a tie? No way. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. It shouldn't anyway. It shouldn't be like that.
But I was scared of this game, but I will say, at the end of the day, hey, Ben threw 4 touchdowns. Can he get comeback player of the year now, please? For the love of God, no.
The one thing that only bugged me about the game is that the Steelers had virtually no rushing game, and that happens, and that's what makes really good veteran teams. And I was telling Buzzy that veteran teams find a way to make things happen. If it's not one guy, it's another. And then their defense played well enough to create issues for freaking Joe Burrow, and you end up winning. And so, I just try to tell Buzzy that good teams, good veteran teams, find a way to win, and they do it. They do it like that. I don't know how else you say it, but that's just the way it is. And right now the Steelers are the cream of the crop, and it's going to take a lot to take them down. Who are the Steelers got in the next 2 weeks? Where's our Steelers situation at in the next 2 weeks, CJ? Who we looking?
Hello, Professor.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah. You're good, man.
Hey, I tell you what, 9-0. I'd rather win ugly than win it all. That's the best way to look at it.
Right. Oh yeah.
All I'll say is that the Steelers. We're gonna move the mic over to get it in front of you. We can CJ and I can hear you clearly, but your voice is not carrying through to the computer, but it should now. So,
well, I do know that Pittsburgh does play Baltimore Thanksgiving night.
Right, in 2 weeks.
I mean.
It's another reason why I'm not going to Thanksgiving, because I will be watching that game.
They got the Jags. They got the Jags this coming week. And, the Jags got nothing to lose either. So,
And I do believe both of these games are in Pittsburgh because they had been on the road for such a long period of time.
The Jags
are in Jacksonville.
Yeah, but the Baltimore game is in Pittsburgh.
Yes, it is. And that's, if you want to play Baltimore anywhere, you want to play them at home.
Oh, definitely.
But
the big thing now is, I hate to bring up COVID, but the governor in Pennsylvania has basically said no outdoor activities. So there's not going to be any crowd in Pittsburgh for Thanksgiving night. None.
Are you serious?
They canceled that.
He did?
Yeah. Yep, he did that today.
Wow.
COVID's kind of closing everything down in that state. So they were complaining in Philly because they wanted a crowd for the next Philly game.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But no crowds at all. So outdoor events. And I don't know how this is going to hurt high school championship games up there too, because they're talking about even no crowds even for those games too.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know. Somebody needs to step in, and part of me says, with the rising incidents of COVID, maybe it's the smartest thing to do, and we should just get off our freaking high horse and just say, okay, we're going to deal with the issue. But another part of me says it's not going to change anything because this virus is going to do what the virus does, regardless of what sporting event, what gathering is there. Because you can say that, but here in Virginia, shoot, you can go. It doesn't that 20 people limit doesn't account for schools. It doesn't account for churches, restaurants, or anything else.
Yeah. So I like I said, it'll be an interesting game in Pittsburgh with no crowd there at all. At least the last couple games they were allowing in, I think it was 5,000 or so.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a big game, and nobody being able to watch it at all at Heinz Field. It kind of almost takes home field advantage away from a team.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would, except for the players are playing at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to come to. It's not like Baltimore's traveling a long distance to get to Pittsburgh to play.
Right.
So,
right.
But it's the sense that you're playing at Heinz Field, and that makes all the difference in the world. And for the average team, that has to be important. But I'll tell you what. I think these are two teams that need to slug it out, and Pittsburgh can really set themselves up. They could be 10-0 after this game, and they need to knock down freaking Baltimore, and they just need to knock them down. And once they knock them down, they need to knock them out. Period. They just need to finish Baltimore.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the way Pittsburgh has played, I think you're absolutely right. They certainly have gone away from the running game quite a bit lately. I mean, it was nice to see Ben kind of really get his pass game back together this against Cincinnati. But I agree. I thought for sure at first it was going to be a trap game, just like you had all had said.
Yep.
And Pittsburgh has a tendency of playing down to whoever they play. And I mean, I almost, put my fist through my TV when they played Dallas, the way that game. Yeah. But I was afraid of that, and they seemed to rise to the occasion to play Cincinnati. But I think maybe they needed that. Well, and it may be Ben needed the week off too. I mean, even though he was COVID, reserved and he didn't practice much, it looked like he was fresher for this game than he was for the last couple games.
Wasn't there something that said that he was complaining about his arm being sore?
Yeah, after he had taken that hit, I think it was in the Dallas game or the Baltimore game where he was shaking it off, and
right.
So maybe a week worth of rest on that shoulder or the elbow.
Right.
But he did take another hit on that elbow against Cincinnati and kind of shook it out and came right back and was able to throw the ball downfield with quite a bit of touch. So maybe every time he takes a knock on that elbow, he's going to think, "Oh man, the career is over," kind of thing.
Yeah. And he won't be the comeback. You didn't hear CJ ranting and raving about Ben should be the comeback player of the year, even though Alex stepped on the field and had a nice game this past weekend.
Yeah,
he
didn't. Yeah, but Alex didn't win. I mean,
right, and that's CJ's component is that Big Ben is winning these games, and he's doing it like the old Ben would do it.
Yeah. I tell you,
go ahead. No, you're good.
I was just going to say that when he stepped up in the pocket and hit, Juju for that touchdown. I mean, thread the needle and stepped up in there. That was Ben of old. shaking guys off. Stepping up in the pocket and throwing a laser. Right. That was vintage Ben, and that's the kind of Ben you want because that's what you grew up with.
Because I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody today about. Oh, you know who it was? Jason Uri. And Uri and I were talking about him, and Ben is making the Pittsburgh offense go. It's Ben. It's not anybody else. You had the receivers. You had Duck Hodges. You had who was the what's his name?
Randolph. Rudolph or Randolph. Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph. You had them, but he doesn't. Neither one of those guys plays like Ben does, and so he has this certain amount of trust with his receivers, and he puts the ball in a position for them to catch it because he knows how to play it. After 17 years in the NFL, Ben knows how to play. And so he is the one right now carrying Pittsburgh. If Ben goes down with a freaking ankle injury or he gets dinged just anywhere, Pittsburgh's going to go, holy shit, our freaking dog, our guy, our bell cow is the guy that we need to have. And if we don't have him, we're going to be in trouble. And you don't want to wish that. But there are a lot of teams going, well, Ben needs to go down with a big toe injury or hangnail, something that gets him for a little while, because that's the only way you're going to touch them. He is playing so well, making such good decisions that he is the answer. And he relieves so much pressure from Pittsburgh's defense. They're already badass. Those are already ass whippers. And when they sit on the sideline and watch their freaking guy get it done for them offensively and take pressure off of them, then all they do is pin their ears back and come right after you. So,
well, one thing I've been impressed with Ben in this 9-0 run is that in the passing game, he does not have a favorite. I mean, game to game,
I think
they're
they
hitting.
In the game, he threw to 9 different guys.
Yeah, I mean, I really have been impressed with Claypool as a player. I mean, that kid from Notre Dame, he is a stud. And I mean, even in his second year, Johnson from Toledo,
7 different guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's not relying just on one like he used to do with Antonio Brown. Like Antonio was it, and everybody else was, second, third, fourth down the line. But he's spreading the ball around.
Yep.
And whoever gets the hot hand, that's who he's going after.
Right.
Well, when you get a cancer away from your team and you tell your team, let's just win now.
Let's play.
Exactly.
Let's rely on each other.
Well, and I thought it was interesting that they found video of Antonio destroying some security camera and throwing bikes at some.
Oh yeah, that was from like a long time ago, though. But But that's part of the evidence that when he goes to court, he could be freaking out of the league. He could be out of the league for eternity if he's found guilty. And quite frankly, you had everything going for you, and the money turns you into a monster, and that's what you get. Sorry, that's what you get. But when you look at what Ben did, throwing to 7 different guys, I think on one drive he hit 6 different receivers. I think there was 11-play drive they had, and he had 6 different guys during that drive, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Was it 5 or was it 6 different guys? Either way, he throws to 7 different guys, and not one of them had less than 2 catches during the game. The lowest number was 2, and then Juju has 9 catches, of course, because Juju can freaking get his ass open. But that's
all right.
That is a tantamount to what Ben can do for you, because he isn't all dialed in on one guy. He can get it to as many different guys as he can. To what we refer to in the spread game as what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing at me?
No, I'm
Don't
saying
you roll your fingers,
let's
asshole.
start wrapping this up.
He's rolling his fingers at me.
We want to get to we want to get to the bourbon.
It's called spreading the wealth, and that's what Ben does. He does it really well right now. So we always talk about in a spread offense, when you got 6 potential receivers or 5 potential guys and you only have 1 ball, then you find a way to get it to everyone to make them happy. So, and Ben does that really, really well right now.
Okay, so let's move on to the picks.
All right. So the picks coming up for this week, Professor, you want to join in on our picks this week? I will add you to the total if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, I'm going to add your tag right now. And our first pick of the week is going to be Cardinals at Seahawks. Cardinals at the Seahawks. CJ's going first.
I'll say 34-31 Arizona.
34-31?
Arizona.
34-31 Cards. Go ahead, Professor. What do you got?
I'm going to say 35-28 Cardinals.
35-28 Cardinals. I cannot go with you guys. I got to think that Russell Wilson is going to get off the schneid. But I don't know that you can score 35 points against the Cardinals. So I'm going to go 28-24, and I'm going to go with the Seahawks, because I don't know that you can score that many points against Arizona. I think they're playing well enough.
By the way, it is snowing outside right
Is
now.
it really? We got snow flurries?
Yeah, it looks like it right now.
Nikes. I know it's cold. All right, so our next game is Titans-Ravens. DJ.
Ooh, that's tough.
Ravens.
I think that Baltimore is going to beat them, though,
Yep,
because I'm going to say 28-21 Baltimore, just because I don't think that Tennessee has that good of a defense to stop them. But I think that Tennessee can keep up with them.
All right, Professor, go ahead. Fire away.
Well, I think the one thing Tennessee has going here is if they just feed the ball to the machine and manage the clock, they can keep the Ravens offense off the field. So I'm going to say 24-21, but I still think Baltimore is going to win the game.
You're going to take the Ravens. Well, I'm going to go against both of you, because if any team needs to win as badly as the Titans do, they have to have this. They cannot drop another game. There's just no way they can do that. So, but I like the score that you had. I'm going to go just one tick higher, and I'm going to call it 28-24, and I'm going to go Titans. Because what that does is it knocks the Ravens down, and they're knocked down, and Pittsburgh can knock them out. And so I think it's real important that the Ravens lose this game to give Pittsburgh a clear advantage. And if the Titans batter the Ravens, all the more better for Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving. Our next game is Packers-Colts. CJ, hit the Packers and Colts.
I'm going to say 21-10 Indianapolis.
21-10 Indy.
Where are they playing this game at?
In Indy.
Ooh, okay. I thought, well, if they were going to play in Wisconsin, it'd be a little bit different. Man, this is tough. I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to agree. I'm going to have to go with the Colts, but I think the game's probably going to be a little closer than that. I'm going to say probably 30-27.
30-27. And you're going Indy?
Yeah, I'm going Indy.
I'm going against you guys all this week, and I don't have a problem with that. Just simply because, the Packers have to prove something. They're clear. They're head and shoulders above everybody in the North Division. They're just better, and they have to show it. And I'm not a huge Rodgers fan, but that cat can play. I'm going to take 28. I'm going to say 28, 28-20, and I'm going to take the Packers. The Packers can explode for yardage. They got great running game. They got solid receivers. It's just one of those games. All right, next one, Rams-Bucks. This is the Monday night game. Rams and Bucks. DJ.
They're playing this in
They're playing
in LA?
In Tampa Bay.
Oh, they're playing in Tampa. Okay.
Yep. Monday night in Tampa. And it's probably going to rain.
I'm going to say 28-20 Rams. I'm going Rams.
Hey, and that's not a bad choice, because I'm telling you what, right now.
I know it's not a bad choice. That's why I fucking picked it.
The Rams have to win and the Bucks have to win. Go ahead, Professor.
Well, since they're playing in Tampa, I'm going to have to say it's probably going to be – I think it's going to be a field goal difference between the two. So I'm going to say probably 24-21, but I think Tampa's going to probably pull it out. So 24-21 Tampa.
I'm gonna go one big score, because I think what they did this past week just opens things up, and you got to play with AB as many downs as you can. And this will be his third week practicing, getting more involved. He is a matchup nightmare with Evans, and I certainly think that the Bucks had better find a way to get more than two tight ends on the field to relieve Gronkowski of the pressure. I think that the Bucks can score 35, and I'm saying Bucks 35-20 over the Rams. I think they overwhelm the Rams because because they have that kind of firepower. And then our final game is the Sunday night game. Could be really special game. This is an old school knockdown, drag out, slobber knocker. Two teams that do not like each other from the old AFL. The Chiefs in Vegas. Chiefs in Vegas playing the Raiders Sunday night. Go ahead, CJ. Hit it.
I think that they can do it. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think that they will sweep them this year. I'm going 45-35 Raiders.
45-35 the Raiders.
Well, I'm going to have to say I don't know about that. I mean, I think Mahomes has something to prove that nobody's going to.
He's an asshole.
Sweep them.
Asshole. It's okay.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm trying to be nice about it, you know.
Fair enough. I never liked you from the start, anyway.
That's my boy.
But I'm gonna say that I don't think Gruden has enough defense really to stop Mahomes if he gets rolling.
I really don't think so.
So I'm gonna say probably 35-21 KC. Definitely 35-21 KC.
And I think this whole incident over the Raiders driving the bus around the KC stadium and all that stuff just adds fuel to the locker room postings. And I think KC's going to come out and try and prove a point. I think they're going to shut down the Raiders so bad. I don't think that the Raiders are going to score much more than a couple of field goals at best. And I'm going to say that KC wins 35-10. They're going to dominate the Raiders big time. They're just going to dominate them. So those are our picks for the week. And I like them. We'll find out who knows football, but that's where we're at, brother.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So
tell me about that. Yeah.
You're out. Oh, yeah. We're going to taste the bourbon here. And so what we did, Kathy and I and a group of friends, we went to a blues fest down in Sharpsburg, Maryland, and a little ways from where Antietam Battlefield is. And they had a brewery, they had a wine tasting and beer tasting events there. And one of our favorite breweries was Antietam Brewery, and they were there and had their freaking Antietam Golden Lager, which is absolutely phenomenal, and I had that. Escutcheon Brewing was also there from Winchester, which was really good. But I walked up to this tent, and they had this independent brewery or independent distillery from Baltimore, and they are called Bullshine. And they had this handcrafted bourbon whiskey there. And it is 45% alcohol by volume. It's a 90 proof bottle. Right. And it was relatively cheap. It was about $25 a bottle. And just really, really nice. And so CJ and I brought it home for CJ to taste, and I've been sipping on it during the show, and I'm going to sip a little bit more, and I'm going to pass it over to CJ. So this is Bullshine, straight bourbon whiskey from a distillery, and I think the main distillery is in. Oh, look at you, big boy! CJ just poured a freaking big fatty. It has a wonderful smell to it. And it's to take a sip. It's very smooth. There's no bite in it. If you just sit it there, what are you thinking, brother? Breathe in the aromas. It's very smooth. It has a wonderful smell.
Yeah, you can't do anything more than a sip with this.
This is not one of that. It is not a single barrel whiskey. It's not like a refined Jack Daniel's single barrel. It is just straight bourbon whiskey. And I'll tell you what, it's not bad. I'm telling you what. You don't have to mix it.
Are you drinking it neat, straight up, or you got it over ice?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. We got her neat, brother. No, nothing over ice. But it would be really good with ice too. If you dropped a cube or two in there, it would absolutely be delicious with that. But it is very good neat. It is not a harsh. It doesn't have a bite on the front end. And the next time you come over, I will make sure that I have some bullshine for you to taste. And of course,
I think I poured a little too much, but yeah.
It's not bad, is it?
No, it's really good. No, I poured a little too much in the glass because I'm not gonna.
He poured a double shot. And,
I'm not gonna be able to. No, there's no way I'm gonna be able to finish this all.
You could. It'll make you sleep well.
Might fall up the stairs.
It's
but
cold.
Yeah.
It's cold
Well,
outside.
well, the thing is, I mean, if it's that big of a deal, you just put a shot of water in it, and I mean, you get upstairs with that.
Yeah, you can. He can take the little sifter upstairs and drop a cube or two in there, and that would knock it off. And come to think of it, this bullshine would be pretty sweet on the rocks. It would just take it down just ever so slightly, and it would smooth it out. And
you're probably right.
It'd be really good. And whereas I prefer my freaking bourbons. I prefer my bourbons. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. I prefer my bourbons neat, but I can see how this one would be pretty good on the rocks. Absolutely. But we're gonna put that one up, and I forgot to put last week's beer up, the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. That was a dark horse. We just picked out of nowhere, and it turned out to be fantastic beer. So I'm gonna post. I posted that on our Twitter, and I'm gonna put it on Instagram as well. But Bullshine, thank you very much. They did a great job with this. I tasted. I also bought a peach. They had a number of different flavors. They had an apple pie. They had a cherry. They had a number of different flavors, and they gave you little samples. They were like little, for lack of a better word, they were probably about a teaspoon worth of liquor, and they were so smooth. Every one of them was really good. And and you know how it is with bourbons, you know how it is with liquors. It becomes a drinker's market. It has to hit your palate, and you have to enjoy it. And I got the peach, and I mixed the peach with an iced tea. And so it was like a peach flavored iced tea. And that was pretty good. But I mixed the peach, and sounds kind of silly, but I mixed a peach with a freaking Coke, and it just rocked. It was really good. So, like one of the old soda fountain drinks you used to get at drugstores. It was exactly like that, and there was just enough sweetness in the peach to blend with the Coke, and I really enjoyed it. So,
well, something I'll bring to you tomorrow on the QT. Of course, with COVID, we get bored and you start doing concoctions. And of course, the professor's wife, she loves to look at recipes. So she's been looking at drink. She's been looking at drink recipes. So we found this recipe. It's called Grandma's Apple Pie a la Mode Moonshine.
Oh boy!
So not this weekend, but 2 weekends ago, I said, "Oh well, I'll give this a shot." So it took me an entire afternoon on Saturday. It took a half gallon of cider, half gallon of apple juice. Yeah, apple cider and apple juice with white sugar and cinnamon sticks and clove. And you had to bring it to a boil, and then you had to leave it simmer for like 20 minutes.
And then you had it all together?
Yeah, just kind of infuse it all together.
Yeah,
but then you had to let it all cool. Then you added an entire fifth of Everclear to it.
Oh my God.
At 151 proof, and half a fifth
already has vision issues. That'll make her go blind completely.
Then you add a half fifth of vanilla vodka, and you blend it all together.
What are you doing, dude? No wonder you're a professor. You're not a professor. You're a mad scientist.
Well, so then you blend it all together and get it all nice and mixed, and then you pour it into mason jars with a cinnamon stick in it. Now I ran out of cinnamon sticks, but I have four pints of this stuff left.
Uh-oh.
And
Don't tell anybody.
well, no, I'm gonna sneak you one tomorrow. So when I walk in tomorrow, I'll say, let's take a walk out to the car, and I'll get it for you. But I gave the recipe to the other professor in my department. Which doctor I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And I gave her the recipe, and I gave her a pint, and she said, "Oh my God, we're making this for Thanksgiving." She goes, "I've never." And the thing is, she talked about the fact. Her and her husband said, "Well, where'd the pint go?" Because they went through it so fast. They go, "We need more of it." And she says, "Well, I only got one pint." And she said, so she's got it. And she then apparently went shopping, I guess, yesterday after work to go buy all the ingredients to make her own over the weekend. She liked it so much. So I'm going to sneak, I'll sneak you a little taste test of this tomorrow. So when I see you tomorrow, I'll say, let's take a little walk, and you can then take it somewhere.
All right, man.
All right.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show, brother. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Round out. If you want to listen to the rest of us, we're going to round out with Hops of the Week, and then we're going to get out of here.
All right, sounds good. So I'll sign off and let you finish with your hops, and I'll listen to the end, and then I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. So we're going to round out with Hops of the Week for our listeners out there, and for new listeners. This segment has to deal with not beer, but it deals with a little like on play of words that deals with beer, little hops in the beer. Little pop culture topics that have hit our news feeds and stuff that we've researched over the past couple of weeks that we felt are very interesting to share with you. So, Coach, if you want to start us off with hops, go right ahead.
Yeah. So I was looking into these strange news articles, and so I found this one where they're coming out of Taiwan with news that's saying that they have more pets than they have kids lately. Like the number of pets outnumber.
I don't blame them.
Oh, what do you mean?
I would take Tom over Patrick any day of the week.
No, stop it. So in the last year, they've had 3 million pets. 3 million pets. And that's more than all of the kids that they have in their country from age 14 and younger. That's all of them. But here's the thing is that a lot of the pets, they're pampered. Like they love their dogs. Like they're not in other countries where they want to look at them and go, hey, that's going to look like pretty good on my plate kind of thing. They're realizing that they have more pets than they have kids. And I just kind of struck me that what kind of a world do we live in where pets, I mean, we're talking, and my black girl Jeans is down here and my boy Guns is back there and they're just laying on the floor. But to think that they outnumber my children, that's crazy.
Well, the pets do outnumber the children in this household.
We're talking about we're a rare household where we have 5 pets and only 2 kids. But in Taiwan, the pet is revered. And it's not to say that we don't revere our pets. Our animals are well taken care of. But the biggest thing is that in Taiwan, the birth rate is really declining. And what they said is between 5 and 6%, the birth rate is like completely dropping off the board. And so people are pushing their freaking dogs. They're in, you go down the street and you see a little carriage going down and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to see a baby. And then sitting in the freaking baby cart is a fucking dog, because people are taking better care of their pets than they are kids. But they were saying that a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of social pressure, that in this country, we have so many unwed mothers. We have a lot of kids that get, have children out of wedlock and at a younger age and stuff like that. Well, that's becoming stigmatized in places like Taiwan. And so what they've done is, I guess the government has taken back, and we're not supposed to talk about politics, but they have shorter maternity leaves. And when you couple that with reduced wages where people just aren't making very much money in the country, they're not having children. And so in order to offset that, they fucking have pets instead. And I just thought that was just amazing to me that pets outnumber kids in a country in this world today. And so I thought that would be kind of interesting to talk about. And so that was my first hops of the week, man, is the number of pets outnumber kids. Well, because it's cheaper to feed a fucking dog than it is to freaking feed a kid and take care of a kid. And if I had to feed you again versus feeding a dog, well, I'd choose the dog. Well, but that's just me, right, brother?
Come on, go.
Don't
go
look at me like
second
that.
one.
Oh, my second one.
I got to cook. Come on,
I'm
let's
sorry.
go.
Yeah, CJ's freaking full of shit. He doesn't even know. All right, so my second one is a book, and this book is badass. And so this book was written by a college professor and a high school teacher, and it's called "The Lies My Teacher Told Me: Everything Your American History Textbook Got Wrong." And it was made back in 1995 by a guy named James Lewin, and he just shreds today's American history books. And I'm telling you what, it is so good. I'm going to listen to it again. As soon as I get done with it, I'm going to back it up all the way to the beginning, because you just can't keep on top of all this shit. And it talks about all of the stuff that we read in our U.S. history books, and how that just glosses over stupid shit, and how we are Eurocentric, and how we mythologize things. And those are the things that just bother the shit out of me. Things like Christopher Columbus. How in the world in our country we have a fucking federal holiday to glamorize and to Eurocentrize freaking a guy like Christopher Columbus? Are you shitting me? We shouldn't even be wasting our time with a guy like that. But we do, and every time in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, like he discovered America and all this shit. It's complete and total bullshit. And if you're not teaching your kids, and if you haven't taught your kids what Christopher Columbus was and what he did, you're not kidding anybody. And all you do is shielding them from the truth, from everything from the racism of our country, from Woodrow Wilson to how we treated Native Americans to the whole issue of slavery and how it's been taught in history books, is complete and total horseshit. And I have enjoyed this book immensely. And I'm not a political guy. I'm really not. After studying history for 25 years and have been in so many college classrooms and listened to the kind of stuff, this guy, I don't know why I never found this book before, but it is so well written and it's so well documented that if you don't read it, you're just missing out on shit. It's just so well done, and I can't get enough of it. He does 12 textbooks. He examines 12 textbooks beginning in 1975 and going all the way to 2005. And these are 12 typical high school books, and even into those that might be second editions that might be used all the way into a college classroom. And he reviews them, and he basically shreds them and saying that they're pretty much fucking lying. And for us to consider this stuff, it's nonsense. Right now I'm listening to the part on Reconstruction, and it is an eye-opener. And for me, I understood a lot about Reconstruction. I had a class called Civil War and Reconstruction in high school, and even my professor could have taken a lesson from this fucking guy. And I'm learning things, and if for 1 second I'm not going to teach my kids this stuff, the kids that I have in high school, and I teach U.S. history, you bumped your fucking head. I'm going to make sure that they know about all this shit, because I think it's important. There's no reason for us to sit back and reflect on history in our country and not tell it like it is. There's just no reason for that. And so if you don't check out this book at some point in your life, Lies My Teacher Told Me, the hashtag is everything your American history textbook got wrong, then you're not a fan of history, and I have to punch out on that because it makes me so mad to think about the things that I have studied and the things that I've read, and this guy's changing my mind, and I put him into my lessons today. I put him in. I've started reading it over the last week, and I've included it in many of the aspects that I've taught in lessons today involving the Civil War. It's incredible. You should check it out. It's not hard to read. It's not hard to listen to if you want to get an audiobook. And in fact, it's a free audiobook if you want to get it. So check it out. Now, I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a fan of history, you just might learn a thing or two. So there you go, baby. There's my two. There's my two hops. And somewhere said the coach needs a beer.
Okay, so my hops of the week actually has to deal with some more scary stories. So these are some real life, I don't want to say booby traps, but some of the scariest encounters with people that have gone horribly wrong in a sense. I have two of them. So basically the first one, I'll start off with this. We'll say his name is Brad. So Brad is a cop. He's 21 years old.
Oh,
he moves
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
He moves out to Colorado with his girlfriend, and he gets dumped by her. He basically moved out there to be closer with her, and he gets dumped. And so now he basically is trying to start a new life out there as a new cop. And so basically his friend, after he was out there saying like, dude, you need to get back into the dating world. And so why don't you try out this new app called Tinder and try it out? And so he did. And so he basically matched with this woman who was way out of his league, basically. And her name was Linda. And Linda, they matched together, and they basically met up, and they set up a date to hang out. And basically what happened was that they met up and they went stargazing, and they tried to go up this strange pathway to go out stargazing out into this field out in the middle of nowhere, basically. And so they're driving up into this field, this open space. It's out in the middle of the nowhere. It's up this really long road, basically, where the cement stops off and then it goes into dirt and then it hits cement again. And as they hit that second part of the cement going up this road, the cop notices Brad notices some dim headlights in the faraway field, and he notices that they're getting close, and all of a sudden it actually gets very close, and then he blocks Brad in. And the guy, and so the cop, the guy in the other car doesn't know that he's a cop. So Brad gets out of the car with his flashlight and shines it in his light. He's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you blocking me in right now? And the guy goes like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know that. He's like, we noticed that a lot of poachers are out here at night, and we didn't want them to disarm our livestock. And he's like, we're going stargazing, dude. I'm not here to poach your farm. He's like, okay, that's my bad. I'll back away, and I'll basically leave you at that. And so the van does a 3-point turn, just backs away, just goes away. And he gets back into the car, and he's talking to his date like, I'm sorry about that. I had to tell him off. And he notices that the date at his date is really like texting furiously about something bad just like really happened. She's texting because of the situation, like she's freaking worried about it. Yeah, and so she's like texting a lot, and he takes notice of that, and so they keep on driving.
Oh no!
And then all of a sudden,
the bitch set him up.
They're in the field, and they're just chatting up, and they see the stars, and all of a sudden it gets really dark where there's not that many stars left. And all of a sudden he looks to his right, and he sees off in the distance that there's headlights again. There's headlights appearing again. And all of a sudden he's like, hold on, that can't be the same van again. And no shit, it's the same van again. And it pulls up right in front of him. And the guy pops out again, and he has a metal pipe this time. And he's like, look, give me your keys, give me your wallet right now. And he goes, I'm sorry, what? And the whole time, this guy has no idea that he is a cop. And then all of a sudden, guess what happens? His date goes over to that van and pulls out a metal pipe as well and goes, Brad, give us your keys and give us your wallet right now. And this guy goes, is this really happening right now? And all of a sudden she goes, we have a gun and we don't want to hurt you. And so the guy starts moving closer to Brad, and Brad right away just pulls out his concealed weapon right then and there and goes,
fucked him up.
Yeah, right away. And he goes, yeah, I'm a cop, by the way. And you both are under arrest. He calls up 911 right now, and he's basically trying to describe where the hell they are, because it's hard to describe. Because they're out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, as he's trying to tell the police where he's at, the couple start running away. And so he basically has to end the call and sprint after them. And as he's chasing after them into the woods, past the field, he hears 3 pop shots, and he can see the muzzle flashes being shot. So he basically just runs away from there and tries to go back to the gas station that was at the end of the road, so he could actually call up his police station and say, look, this is where I'm at. This is the address. Come here. And a squadron rolls up, a cop car rolls up with two guys, and he tells them the whole story about, like, dude, look, I got set up. Basically, I could have been in a worse situation if I didn't have my concealed weapon with me. And he goes, okay, that's fine. Can you take us back to the scene of the crime? And he goes, yeah, I'll take you with me. And they go back to that van that they left. Those 2 people left, just ran off in the middle. Yeah. And it's still there. And he goes, okay, just sit here in the car. We'll go check out the van. And so they have their guns pointed at the van. They're checking it out. And they go back to the car, and Brad's like, okay, so what's the situation? And Brad right away noticed that both of them were like, you really were lucky that you had your concealed weapon, because that van had chains, had knives, had guns, pipes, and there was blood on the floor in there. And you could have been in a worse situation than when you were. And all of a sudden, Brad was like, yeah, I guess I could have. But basically, after that, Brad never decided to start Tinder dating because of online dating like that ever again, because of that one situation that could have immediately ended his life. But he will never use it again. So that's one of them. The second one has to deal with this house out. This house. So basically, this family was the parents were leaving for the weekend, and so Barbara, the grandmother, decided to take over watching for the kids and basically keeping an eye on them over the weekend. And so they had a teenage daughter, and her name was Alyssa, and also 2 younger kids as well. And Barbara was basically in charge, like I said, of watching the house over while they were gone. And at the middle of the night, as they were going to bed, Barbara basically went to bed in their parents' room, fell asleep in there, while Alyssa was in the bed right next, the bedroom right next to her, and the kids were down the hallway. And it's a single-story house. It's 1 floor. That's all there is. And so basically, in the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., Barbara was awoken by she heard some kind of rustling sound outside. She thought it may have been like a dog or an animal outside that was rustling. So she didn't think anything of it. Then all of a sudden she wakes up again because she keeps hearing the sound again. And so she wakes up and she appears out into the window that's like right next to the bed. And she doesn't really see anything, but off in the distance, there's a fence that's like blocking next to the driveway. And also that's around the property. And she notices that there's a bike, like a bicycle out there next to the fence, on the side of the fence that's inside, that's not on the outside, but inside the fence. And she goes, what? Why is there a bike out there? Like, Alyssa doesn't ride a bike. Like, why is there a bike out there? But she doesn't really think too much of it until she hears that rustling again, going up close to the house again. And so she opens up the window a little bit and appears through the screen door. And as I said, her bedroom is right up against the edge of the house. So she sees out in the flower bed right there that there is a boy walking around and appearing into Alyssa's bedroom because Alyssa is a teenage daughter. And so he's thinking, okay, this is some kind of fling or something like that. Maybe Alyssa called this boy to come over and basically come into the house. And so she tries to be, the grandmother and the adult of the house and goes out the front door and it looks to the right and sees the kid and goes, "Can I help you?" And as soon as the kid turns, she goes, she immediately notices this is not a boy, because originally when she looked out the window, it looked like he had a varsity jacket on, like one of those big coats that you wear.
I got one.
Yeah. This was not a kid. This was somebody who looked like was in his late 30s, early 40s. And she goes, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm looking for Alyssa. I forget the last name," he said. We'll say Alyssa Martin. Can you get her out here, please? And she goes, "I'm sorry, who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Alyssa Martin. I know she lives here." And she goes, "Hold on a sec." Because she still thinks that maybe Alyssa, maybe looks older for his age, basically. And so she goes back into the house and she goes to Alyssa and she walks into her bedroom and she goes, "Alyssa, did you call a boy here this night?" And she goes, "What? I'm sorry." And he goes, "Well, there's a boy outside looking for you." And she goes, "Hold on a sec." And she opens up the window and she looks out and she goes, "Yeah, he knows your name. He called for you by name." And she went white, pale in the face and goes, "Grandma, I've never seen that guy in my life. I have no idea who that is." And she goes, "What? He knows your name, though. He called for me by name?" "Yes." "I have no idea who that is. You have to call 911 right now." And so basically Barbara goes back out into the main area, and she was trying to remember if she locked the door. It wasn't, but luckily she got up to the door before he had even gotten into the house.
He tried to
lock
get in?
the door.
Did he try to get in?
No, didn't try to get in. He was trying to wait because he thought that she would be able to get him.
She was leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so she was able to lock the door, and he could hear her, and she could hear him on the other side, and said, "You need to get out of here right now. I'm calling the police right now." And he said, "I'm here to see Alyssa Martin. Could you let her know that I'm here?"
You know, I had a student many years ago by that same name.
I'm sorry. That's the name that I was given.
No, dude, I'm telling you, I had a student by that name.
And as she's calling the police, she can hear the guy on the other side run away from the house, and she's appearing through the window, and she can see him take that bike that was on the inside of the fence and throw it in a Suburban. There was an SUV
So somebody
in the
was
road.
waiting for him to.
Yes, there was an accomplice in that vehicle.
So they were
waiting.
going to take her, throw her in the freaking SUV, and be gone.
Yep. And as the police got there, the police said, "This is something." They asked about it, and they said, "Could you tell us about it?" And they said, "Yeah, he looked like a normal kid, and he was wearing a varsity jacket." And they said, "Well, you guys are very lucky because we have had some break-ins at some houses that have dealt with the same type of MO that you guys are dealing with here. So you guys are very lucky, and I'm glad that you guys have called it in." But there you go. There's my hops of the week right there.
That shit just creeps me out every time I think about it.
It's great, though. It's a great talking point.
Oh, my God. That shit just creeps me out every time I think about that.
All right, guys. It's been a bit of a longer episode.
Yeah,
that was
Who cares? Who cares?
I got to
Who was
cook,
our other
though.
one? Who, beside the professor, who else was on?
Schindeldecker.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not on?
He's in here, but he's just not talking.
Asshole. You need to call in.
But
You need to
anyway,
talk about
guys.
Carl freaking. Uh-oh. What was that?
I think Professor was trying to type "great show" and put "get show." I think he had some of the bourbon that we had.
All right. Yeah.
But anyway, guys, we appreciate you guys for being here.
Thank you
but
for coming in.
It's been a bit of a longer show. But until next time, guys, peace out.